Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and this is a video response to my good friend ProBMan5, aka Brad. Brad has been doing these things called Factoids, where he'll give you some kind of information, usually a story, and then at the end say Factoid. It's like a joke, like a running joke between himself and Shock16. I've seemed to have been dragged into it. Once you get out, they pull you back in. So he had 3 questions that he had asked, and he was asking for everyone's factoids on the 3 questions. The first question is a moral or ethical lesson your parents taught you that turned out to be awesome. I think the main thing my parents taught me was kind of like to always keep your head up. My dad always says that, like, you know, don't be shy, keep your head up, kind of just go with it. And most people, he didn't say this part of it, but I kind of got my own, eclectic reasons for it, I should say, or I got my eclectic or eccentricities that I've pulled into this. Always keep your head up, always, like, kind of don't take shit. I'm not a nasty person by any means. I don't even know if I consider myself very forward. My wife says I'm forward, but that's because she's more quiet. She's the quiet side of the relationship. But you keep your head up, you have a cool demeanor, and usually most people kind of treat you well. I would say on the norm, unless you get like a jerk off who, kind of is nasty and you just don't have to deal with them, or don't want to deal with them. The main thing my parents instilled in me, which I think turned out well, and again ties into the way I've grown up, is to always respect your elders. This kind of goes hand in hand with me with first impressions. So, for instance, I have a lot of tattoos. My arms, my chest, my stomach, now my leg, my other leg, my foot. I know tattoos aren't a bad thing. I know people with tattoos doesn't necessarily mean they're scumbags, junkies, or alcoholics. There are some of those, yes, but most of the time they're just normal people, like you and I. So, when meeting people for the first time, I always tend to cover them up. Now, I shouldn't have to, but I do it for older people. For instance, when I met my wife's parents, I wore either a jacket or long sleeves or a sweater. I don't remember what month it was in. But, you meet someone's parents, you want to put on a good impression, you want them to get to know you, and then if they see the tattoos down the line, they don't care because they know you. And that's kind of always the stance I've taken. So I think that's kind of pulled in from the respect your elders, kind of, keep your head high, good first impression type of thing. That's all kind of tied in for me to a degree. I've had some older people that are in, like, their 70s and 80s that look at you. I remember when I worked in the mall, they look at you and they kind of give you like a dirty look or like a weird look. I know my wife's grandmother, I almost said my wife's mom, my wife's grandmother had said that, like, women with tattoos are prostitutes, or back in her day only, like, disreputable people had tattoos. And I understand that, and that's fine if that's the way she thinks, but she has to understand that it's different now. So that's kind of what I learned from my parents, tied in with my own things. And my in-laws love me, and we get along very well. And they don't care about the tattoos. They ask about them. They talk about getting their own sometimes. So that's probably one of the things I've learned from my parents about, keeping your head high and making a good first impression. The second question was a time you or a friend got arrested, and what was the end result? I've never gotten arrested, thank God. I have 3 people through Facebook that I'm acquaintances with, that I maybe was friends of friends with. I'm going to say the one that stands out the most. This was a friend of a friend that maybe, like, if I hung out at a party as a youth or whatever, they'd be around every so often. I'm not going to say any names. He was a nice guy, but he's a little awkward, kind of weird. He worked in a mall close by, so when we went to get, like, drapes for the house or shades, he'd be there and we'd bullshit with him, and he was nice. My wife said she got a weird feeling from him. He also said something very, what's the word I'm looking for? He said something sexual online to me on Facebook that I thought was inappropriate. Not about me. I'm not going to say any more about it, but he was joking, but I thought it was inappropriate, and I didn't find it funny. But it really rubbed my wife wrong, and she didn't like him from day one, so that made her even more pissed off. Which is funny, because she's very, low-key, as I said in the previous thing. So one day I'm in the cafeteria on lunch, and I'm sitting there, I'm eating whatever. I don't really eat in the cafeteria often, so that shows you I don't really watch TV in the cafeteria. And I'm watching, and the news is on. And out of nowhere, his face pops up. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm watching, and now I'm hearing some of it because, in the cafeteria, so it's kind of loud. And I'm like, holy shit. Child pornography. So this dude's always been kind of weird. I don't know him well, more of an acquaintance. Hey, how are you? That was it. I never really talked to him or hang out with him. He sold me a video game once when I got my first Dreamcast. He sold me UFC, which I sold and then rebought, but that's besides the point. So I find out he got arrested for child porn. He's saying he was online just looking at things for some kind of report or thing he was doing, some kind of study. And this is a weird law that I don't agree with. You can look at child porn, go on websites, look at it as much as you want with no issues. Once you download it and save it or share it, which is what his problem was, he was downloading it or saving it, I believe, that's when you can get in trouble, which is some fucked up loophole, because so that means some pervert can go online all day and just look up horrible shit, not get in trouble. But once they save it or share it with someone else, they're in trouble. I mean, I've seen things on websites, particularly 4chan, which is horrible, and I don't look at it any longer because of things I've seen over the years that I wish I hadn't seen, with animals, with everything, children, with just horrible, horrible shit. And you report the people and they get taken down and they block them and whatever. Great, I've done it. I've blocked people on there. But you see it, you don't want to see it. You just fucking get horrified and report them. Now, should I have gotten arrested for seeing it? Something I didn't want to see that was, no, but I'm looking at a website that's kind of a free-for-all. This guy was saving shit and downloading it and sharing it. So I don't know what came of the case, but I know he got arrested. I saw him once driving on the street next to me, so I know he's out. That's all I know. But that was some fucked up shit. And to see someone on TV is fucked up. I've seen 3 people I know, including 3 including him, in the paper for a bank robbery, again, just an acquaintance, drugs, and hitting someone with their car, again, just an acquaintance, and this guy with the child porn. So thank God none of them are really friends. It's more like, hey, how you doing? Finally, Brad's final question. A time you had to stick up for someone and made the person feel like an idiot. I think he means made the person that you had the argument with feel like an idiot. Luckily, again, I'm not a very confrontational person, but I've never had to really argue or fight much. And when I do, I usually go from 0 to 10, and people don't expect that. So they kind of stay away. As Brad said, when he wears his gym wrestling coach uniform, or jacket, it deters people because they think, oh wow, this guy knows how to wrestle. Now, on the other side of things, and again, I'm not some kind of tough guy or anything like that. I'm not. I'm a sweetheart, as I put it. But when you have tattoos, people tend to have this idea like, wow, this guy sat there for X amount of hours. He probably can, take a beating or at least sustain some kind of, whatever, injury or pain for a while. So they usually tend to leave you alone. Then you have the other people that don't leave you alone. The mustache helped, actually, people not bothering me, because I think they thought I was a weirdo with that big horseshoe mustache, Chopper Reed mustache. The only time I could think of, and this doesn't involve sticking up for someone, this involved me. I worked in my old job, same area, but no, how do I say this without saying it? Same building, different department. And I'm working geez, I'm mumbling a lot. I need some coffee. I'm working in IT, info and tech is what I was going to say. And there's this guy who's very overweight, always pushes his weight around, no pun intended, acts like a real asshole, gets physical with people, abusive, says things, used to now this was before I got there, used to pull his balls out and hang his balls on people, touch people inappropriately, hit them in the balls, do really stupid shit, very high school jock mentality. But he went from being a jock to being 800 pounds, really out of shape, just a scumbag. I have since made amends with him to a degree where I'll say hi to him, but I don't speak to him. So he used to walk over and punch people in the nuts. Why he would do this in a professional atmosphere while you're wearing a tie in information and technology, you know, he thought he was being funny. He was also bullying these people and picking on them. He knew who to pick shots with, who he could do it to, and who to get it away with. And then if they ever went to the boss or went to management, which just sounds weird. It's like, what are you running to the principal's office? Like, the whole situation is just stupid. They would, like, you know, reprimand him, and he would kind of like get it pushed under the rug because he was related, like a cousin of a cousin, to one of the bosses. So it was ridiculous. So there's one time I'm walking by, and he knew I didn't like him. I know he didn't like me, and he used to always verbally like say stupid shit, and I'd throw it back at him. He walks over and he makes believe he's gonna hit me in the balls. So he like puts his hand like this really fast, but doesn't come like very close to me. But you know, I jump because your defense mechanism is you like jump back. And I says, I go, motherfucker, if you even think about touching me, you're gonna have a problem. And I don't get like that. You know, I'm not one to argue or get nasty with people, as I've said. But as soon as I said it, he went like this. Never even attempted to bother me again. There's people in life that, you know, kind of like high school or even regular school, middle school, whatever, that push your buttons. And until you push back, even if you're not that kind of person that really wants to, they get fucking scared. The other time I think of, now that I'm talking about this, there was a guy that was dating an ex-girlfriend of mine, and he would walk into my store when I worked in the mall and act really pompous and stupid about it. He happened to have this friend that worked with me, and the friend, I guess be right back. Stella, what's up? Sorry about that. My dad and I ordered sushi and it just arrived. I know. So I'm going to tell this story really quick. So I worked in the mall, and this guy who was dating an ex-girlfriend of mine who was being a dick about it, and she was being a bitch about it too. Like, I really cared they were dating. And I worked with one of his friends, who I don't like. I don't like any of those people, actually. Those people that were friends knew each other, and I hated them all. Anyhow, he's working with me, and he's like, again, I'm not going to say names. He goes, so-and-so is dating your ex-girlfriend, and if you try and mess with him, he's blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of like getting, you know, he was trying to be an asshole and push my buttons. I know, I'll feed you in 1 second. So, I love you, Stella. I wish you the best. So, he's fucking with me, and, you know, I'm letting it go a little bit, and finally he's like, yeah, and if you know, he'll kick your ass, and I turned around, and I must have, like, really reached my limit at this point, and I just started screaming at the top of my lungs. And, you know, when you go from calm all the time to, like, flipping out, people tend to notice it. He literally backed up, fell on the floor, and went, oh, I'm sorry, please don't hurt me. And I was just like, I couldn't believe, like, how he went from trying to, like, talk shit. That's the thing. I hate people who talk shit and push buttons. But he went from talking shit and trying to be, I guess, tough or get some kind of point across to, like, literally falling over himself, you know. So, just in life, that's the best advice I can give you. Just don't let people, you know, push your buttons. Eventually they'll back off, or something very horrible will happen. So, that's it. I don't really have any other stories. I mean, in terms of sticking up for people, I told that story in the past about how they put meat on my wife's plate, and she's a vegetarian, and I'm always, you know, very kind with the waiters and waitresses, because I know we're not the easiest people to serve with how we eat, what our lifestyle is. But I told that story in the past, so I'm not going to go over that again. But that's about it. So those are my factoids. And thanks, Brad, always, for the questions and for the games you gave me in your contest. It is Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.